Welcome to the Indian Express. The chorus against rising intolerance grew further today with several eminent scientists and filmmakers voicing their concerns over the issue. I have with me Amrit and Amitabh to discuss this matter. Amitabh, what exactly the scientists have said in the statement they have issued against this atmosphere of intolerance?
See, more than 100 scientists have signed a statement today. In the statement, they've said, it's a very impressive list, by the way, very impressive list of scientists from some of the topmost institutions in the country. In the statement, they have said they are protesting against climate of intolerance and a rash of bigoted acts. And they have specifically named the Dadri incident. They have named the assassinations of Kalburgi, Dhabolkar, Govind Pansare. So all the recent acts that have made the news, and they have put the statement online for more scientists to join and lend their name and their weight to the statement. So that's what has happened.
Okay. So Amrit, first we had writers, then we have, now we have scientists and even filmmakers, prominent ones like Dibakar Banerjee. Do you think it's becoming a much larger protest, almost a movement kind of a thing? What do you make out of this?
I think so, because now, initially it was only the writers, so then they could say that, these people don't, there is a subjective evaluation when you talk about writers and their writings. But with scientists, as Amitabh said, some of the big institutions are involved, they work there, publicly funded institutions.
Yeah.
So when they come out and say the same thing, and the statement reads that, the writers are showing the way, we thought we have to follow it. And if you look at the wordings, it talks about, these institutions, and the government is supposed to provide, to what you call, to develop scientific temper, etc. And you have people like Dhabolkar and Pansare who are in the forefront of creating that scientific temper in the society. They being attacked by organizations seemingly, holding a certain kind of very regressive views, superstitions, etc. So I think there is cause for concern, at least on the part of the government, that there is now a certain kind of a united front, and these are not planned. The writers' protest, as we know, it was not a planned effort. People were coming from different parts of the country, coming up with similar concern. So here again, I don't think there seems to be a concerted plan essentially to bring together all of them. And it's happening. So I think there is serious concern for the government.
So Amitabh, coming back to the scientists, one has rarely seen scientists taking such public stands on issues. What is different this time? What could have led them to be a part of a statement like this?
Yeah, you're very right. Scientists generally don't take public stand. Even when in some situations you expect them to, they should be taking. And I remember an incident just 2-3 years ago when former ISRO chairman Madhavan Nair was blacklisted by the government. He was a celebrated scientist, he was a Padma Vibhushan. No reasons were given for why he was given the kind of treatment that he had been given. But there was not a single voice from the scientific community about raising questions over the government action. So this is very surprising that way, is that the scientists have actually come out and said what they have said. So my guess is, one thing that has probably triggered this is peer pressure. The scientists have seen the writers coming out. The scientists have seen, the artists having come out. So maybe there's this peer pressure that has worked on it, and you've seen this is the third statement in 2 days actually. So there were 2 statements from different groups of scientists came out yesterday. Today is the third. Yesterday they were like smaller group of scientists and relatively lightweight. I won't say lightweight, but relatively unknown scientists. Today it's actually a galaxy of very big scientists. These are from all the top institutions. You name them. It's like the TIFR, IISc, IITs, the Indian Statistical Institute, the National Institute of Immunology, National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. So all the top institutions, which are very highly reputed institutions, and lots of scientists belonging to these institutions, active scientists who are doing research, who are involved in research, generally in the age group of say 45, 50, 55, who are very active in science, so they are the ones who have come out. So, I mean, in a way, that's a very welcome move. For scientists generally don't speak even on scientific matters, which is a sad thing. So, for them having come out on an issue which they think is of importance to India as a nation. So that's a very good sign. The way they have linked it and the way they are like sort of justifying their action is trying to link these issues to scientific temper. So they are saying this is a direct attack on scientific temper, on rationality, the core values that science represents. So they are trying to say that in this kind of atmosphere, science itself gets harmed, and therefore we as the biggest stakeholders, we as in scientists being the biggest stakeholders in Indian science, we won't be able to do valid science in such an atmosphere. So that seems to be the argument that they are making.
Okay. So Amrit, another thing which is constantly being talked about these days is how the Narendra Modi government has almost chosen to maintain a complete silence over the matter. I mean, over all these instances of people returning awards and voicing their concerns over the rising intolerance. What do you make out of it, and do you think that the government can get away by just maintaining a studied silence over this entire issue?
But Rakhavendra, I think here we should also realize that the government has not been silent. At least two statements have come out.
Okay.
One from Mr. Arun Jaitley, where he said that this is basically like a planned effort essentially to target the government.
The writers.
And then you had Amit Shah, the party president, who was saying that this is something which only Lutyens Delhi has a problem with. Now, if you look at, like Amitabh said, these are scientists from across India, some of the most prestigious institutions. And if you look at the social scientists who had responded a couple of days ago, they're drawn from some of the best institutions across the world. So there is a certain kind of a sentiment which seems to be prevalent in the intellectual community that under this government, be it the government actors or non-governmental actors, there is a threat to knowledge production. And people are now finding that the situation or the what you call the situation in the country is not suitable to pursue scientific research with the goals and aims of pursuing scientific temper, creating it's there in the statement in that sense. So there is a certain Nehruvian language which they have used in the writings. I mean, freedom of expression, freedom of thought, pursuing research, the independence of institutions, all these things are now slowly coming up. So it's a very serious thing that government needs to address, rather than be combative and try to take on the attribute other motives to these people. I think some senior members in the government perhaps should engage with them, address their concerns, and officially make statements saying that, look, I mean, the government is in the business of addressing these things. I think it's
some degree of firefighting would help.
Yes, especially because this also send out a certain message, not within the country, but also outside. And people pick up those signals. So it's important for the government to respond, I think.
Yeah, and some foreign scientists also have lent their names actually. I mean, basically Indian scientists working in foreign laboratories, they are also lending names. And we'll probably see over time, as they have put it in the on the internet, some more people would join in. It'll probably expand further.
Earlier it was only the historians who used to be very vocal about these things. Now the spectrum is so vast, writers, and all these writers are from different Indian languages. They don't seem to be connected in any way.
Absolutely.
And they all have a history of taking on the state at different points. I mean, going to jail during the emergency. Right. So there is a certain kind of sentiment which seems to be shared across ideologies, shared across institutions, across disciplines, which I think is very interesting. It's a new thing in India.
So what began as a small flicker appears to have turned into a flame as of now, and only appears to...
and one thing about the scientists is probably because they don't speak very often, so you can't attribute any ideology to them. You would not know what ideology they belong to, most of them.
I think that's the difference between the historians and writers and the scientists.
And the scientists, because, because they don't speak up often, you don't know where they belong.
So the government clearly has a lot on its plate, and let's see how it goes on from here and how they deal with this entire issue. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Keep watching this space for more. Thank you.